Can you beat Genshin Impact at Adventure Rank 1? A question no one has ever thought of since this is a dumb idea. After all, the moment you get an element, you reach Adventure Rank 2. So how is it going to be possible to beat the game at Adventure Rank 1 where you can't even get an element? But what if? Just what if we set an arbitrary goal to visit all possible nations before reaching Adventure Rank 2? As of version 3.3, we currently have a total of 4 nations to visit. Mondstadt, Liyue, Inazuma, and Sumeru. So as long as we are able to visit all nations, we could say that we beat Genshin Impact at Adventure Rank 1. Here are the rules of this challenge. You must stay at Adventure Rank 1 throughout the entirety of this challenge. You must visit all nations as of version 3.3 and version 3.4. To consider a nation completely visited, we must activate at least one Statue of the 7 as well as stepping foot to all Statue of the 7s available in each nation. This means that in order to consider Mondstadt as visited, you must activate at least one Statue of the 7 as well as physically touch all of the Statue of the 7s within the nation. And finally, if the Statue of the 7 is not available, I do not need to go there. Places such as Old Wanarana do not have a Statue of the 7 until the story progresses, and Kandomia and the Chasm Underground do not have a Statue of the 7, and as such, they will not be included in this video. With the rules of the challenge now sorted and everyone understands what needs to happen, let's just get straight into it. Oh yeah, and if you like the video, like, support to the channel is greatly appreciated. We start off the challenge by picking Ether. Ether's quicker movement speed will make traversing to Teyvat a lot easier. Once the game begins, the timer starts and we go straight to the teleporter. The reason why we need this teleporter open is due to Genshin Impact's respawn system. The game works in such a way that if this teleporter is not activated, it will always send you back to this spot right here. Fortunately, this particular teleport waypoint gives you only 10 AR XP, so it's not a huge blow to the XP counter. I then proceed to touch Starfield Lake's Statue of the 7, which we can now mark as visited. Throughout this video, I will purposefully avoid opening any chest. Chests are normally really helpful for survival, however, since they give AR XP, even opening just one chest can lead to failing the challenge. I then continue my way to Windrise Statue of the 7, marking the visitation of the statue before making my way to Springwell. Normally, I would buy Northern Smoked Chicken from Brook in order to assist with some climbing. However, since we have no Mora to work with, I had to scrap this idea. I did, however, open this teleport waypoint. This now marks my XP to 60 out of the 375 required for Adventure Rank 2. However, this teleport waypoint is going to be extremely important for later parts of the video. Once that is sorted, I then made my way to Dawn Winery, talking to this gentleman right here for some apples, which will be the only source of healing I will have for a really long time. But now lies my first issue, the Paimon barrier. The Paimon barrier is a barrier which prevents players from going to unintended places. Normally, this stretches around the entirety of Teyvat. However, if you have not completed Genshin Impact's first Archon quest, this Paimon barrier shrinks to this small area in Mondstadt. This is great to keep the normal players from going to unintentional places. But unfortunately, in our circumstances, this poses a massive issue since you are stuck within this area. How am I going to visit the rest of Teyvat? And I guess you were right, I didn't think this through, and immediately I failed the challenge. Right? Now, this barrier is really good to keep the normal players from going to unintentional places. However, I am not a normal player. And let's just say, there are multiple ways to bypass this barrier. The disconnection glitch. This is a glitch where I trick the game into believing I'm in a particular location when in reality I'm somewhere else. In this particular instance of the glitch, I managed to trick the game into believing I'm still within the border when in reality, I am far from it. I'll be using this glitch extensively throughout this video in order to bypass the Paimon barrier. Quick note, if you try to do this in-game right now, it will not work. You'll need to... That was a long beep, but I have to do it. Now this glitch allows you to break the Paimon barrier. However, you can only open one teleport waypoint before the glitch breaks. And that is a massive problem. I can't keep opening teleport waypoints since it will get me over to Adventure Rank 2. However, with this glitch, I was able to open Stone Gate's teleport waypoint, which now sends me over to 110 AR XP out of the 375 AR XP for Adventure Rank 2. So I was able to get into Liyue, and technically speaking, I'll be able to complete Liyue and Sumeru with this glitch. However, I needed something more concrete, something which can break the Paimon barrier in a more permanent manner, and it won't be long before I execute this glitch. As you can see, I now have Paimon as my companion, and for the remainder of this journey, you'll see her with Ether as we go to Teyvat at Adventure Rank 1. The first thing I did with this glitch is to open Lee Rare's Dihua Marsh Statue of the 7. This sends us to 160 AR XP out of the 375 AR XP required for Adventure Rank 2, but completing an objective requirement of opening one of the Lee Rare's Statue of the 7. However, since I completely forgot about Dawn Winery's Statue of the 7, I have to go all the way back to Mondstadt in order to open it. Definitely not because I was scared of the Eye of the Storm one-shotting me. Turns out that was a dumb train of thoughts since the Eye of the Storm doesn't even do anything. With the Eye of the Storm defeated, I then proceeded to touch the Statue of the 7 near Dawn Winery. 3 down for Mondstadt, 2 to go. Once I touched the Statue of the 7 near Dawn Winery, I then went to Dragonspine to open its Statue of the 7. Normally, traversing Dragonspine at Adventure Rank 1 at level 1 is a bad idea which will lead to certain death. However, since none of the mobs are working, the only thing I have to worry about is the sheer code effect. So as long as I was close to a fire source at all times, there should be no issues surviving within Dragonspine. And that's exactly what happened. With the Dragonspine arc complete, I now move on to Lee Rare. But Noblies, what about the Statue of the 7 as Storm Terror? This time, I decided to leave the Statue of the 7 as Storm Terror towards the end of the video due to its unique circumstances of being blocked by a barrier. But for now, I made my journey to Lee Rare since Dragonspine was right next to Lee Rare and it's just more convenient to go there. At this point, I have touched 4 out of 5 Mondstadt Statue of the 7s and opened 1 Lee Rare Statue of the 7. But this is about to change. From this point onwards, I went on a rampage to touch all of the Statue of the 7s in Lee Rare, Sumeru, and Sumeru Desert. The path I took is as follows. From Dragonspine to Minyu Village, then to the Statue of the 7 north of Lee Rare Harbor. From there, I went to Dunyu Ruins before going to the chasm and finally making my way to Sumeru. At this stage, I've touched all Statue of the 7s in Lee Rare except for the one in Qingyun Peak. This Statue of the 7 is located on a platform in the skies, which is an issue because we don't have a glider. Yep, that's right, I'm doing all of this with no glider. The glider is unlocked by beating Amber in the storyline and going to Mondstadt with her, which requires you to get an element. So you can just imagine going around Tevat with default stamina and no glider. Truly a pain in the ass experience. But back to Qingyun Peak Statue of the 7. Since this was going to be one of the harder statues to unlock, I decided to go into Sumeru first and complete Sumeru before getting the Statue of the 7 in Qingyun Peak. So from the chasm, instead of going to the secret cave in Sumeru, I simply went over the cliff using this nearby platform before using the 4-leaf sigil to get to the Statue of 7 within Avidya Forest. From there, I went to Devantaka Mountains to get the Statue of the 7 there, using 4-leaf clovers to make my journey easier. I then threaded my way through Apam Woods and into Karavan Vibat, which leads into the Sumeru Desert. The teleport waypoint I chose to open for Sumeru is the one in Aru Village, thus sending my AR XP to 210 AR XP out of the 375 AR XP for Adventure Rank 2. The reason why I chose this teleport waypoint is because if I have to do the disconnection glitch, this teleport waypoint is the closest one to any Sumeru Statue of the 7s. Once I've touched the Statue of the 7 in Aru Village, I then went around Sumeru Desert to set foot on the other 2 statues in Sumeru Desert. I went to the Statue of the 7 at Hypostyle Desert before going to the one at Valley of Dari. The reason being, the Statue of the 7 at Hypostyle Desert was closer to Aru Village. And with the timer hitting the 1 hour mark, I've now touched all Statue of the 7s in Sumeru Desert. Now we aren't quite done yet, since there's still a few Statue of the 7s in Sumeru Forest to touch, so that's exactly what I did. Once I've set foot on the Statue of the 7 in Valley of Dari, I made my way back to Aru Village, then ran through Kawaran Ribat back to Sumeru Forest, where I touched the Statue of the 7 at Pardis Dai. And from there, it was only a matter of time before I touched the Statue of the 7 within Vishuddha Field. At this stage, I've made the trip from Mondstadt to Lee Rare, to Mondstadt, to Dragonspine, then back to Lee Rare, into Sumeru, to Sumeru Desert, and back to Sumeru again, all by essentially walking. It wasn't actually as boring as you think it is because you get to experience different areas, so it's actually a pretty cool journey so far. However, things were about to get a lot more complicated. As I opened the Statue of the 7 at Lokapola Jungle, I've now touched every single Statue of the 7s in Sumeru. The only thing left before completing Sumeru's arc is to open one of the Statue of the 7s in Sumeru, but I'll get back to it later. Now lies my second major issue of this challenge, the Statue of the 7 at Qingyun Peak. This Statue of the 7 is located near the top of Qingyun Peak. A glider is required to get to it in order to open this statue. However, we do not have access to a glider, and the lack of a glider makes jumping to this platform impossible. And I don't really know a glitch to get up there, and immediately, I failed the challenge. Right? In reality, I do know a glitch to get up here. I just can't show it. And just like that, I was able to touch every single statue in Lee Rare, completing the Lee Rare arc. With the glitch now disabled, back in Springwell, I then teleported to Aru Village, executed the disconnection glitch, and activated the Statue of the Seven at Aru Village. This sends our adventure XP to 260 out of the 375 AR XP before reaching AR2. However, this also completes the Sumeru arc. The only thing left to do is to get to the Storm Terror Statue of the Seven and get to Inazuma. Speaking of which, let's go back to the Statue of the Seven in Storm Terrace there. If you try to enter this area before Venti breaks the barrier in the storyline, there's going to be a barrier preventing you from entering it. Oh no! There's a barrier which is going to stop me from entering. Oh, wait. Where's the barrier? Where's the barrier, bro? Turns out, combining the disconnection glitch and the can break most barriers in the game. Breaks the Paimon barrier, and the disconnection glitch tricks the game into thinking you're still in one start, so the barrier doesn't actually load. Which means I can simply walk into Storm Terror to touch the Statue of the Seven, and that's exactly what I did. With the Storm Terror Statue of the Seven now visited, this concludes the Mondstadt arc of this challenge. But now we face our biggest issue yet. The biggest barrier of them all. Inazuma. Inazuma is separated from other nations through an ocean, and since we do not have a wave rider, we don't actually have a way to get there. At least, not intentionally. There are a few unintentional ways to get to Inazuma. The easiest one is by using this diving camera glitch to simply walk there. And that's exactly what I did. Since I was using multiple bugs to break the Paimon barrier, it seems that the character does not drop even when not moving for long periods of time. So therefore, after spending many minutes to walk there, I have to teleport back and take my first L of this challenge. So if the diving camera glitch does not work, I have to then find another way to get there. And it turns out, I did not have to wait long. By going down through this rock in Mondstadt, I was able to walk into Inazuma by going under the ocean, therefore bypassing the ocean barrier. Oh no, not this ground here. Not again. If you've watched my previous videos, this ground immediately kills you when you touch it. There are a few ways to bypass this barrier. However, none of these methods work because as of version 3.3, the ground barrier has been removed by Hoyoverse, which means I can simply walk through this ground with no issues. And after going through the non-existent ground barrier, I now face the final barrier before reaching Inazuma, the Storm Barrier. The barrier which breaks almost everyone who tried to break into Inazuma. If you stay within this barrier for more than a few seconds, you'll be teleported back to Liyue, the hardest barrier to overcome, and I have no way to bypass it. And thus marks the end of the journey, and I was unable to reach Inazuma with Adventure Rank 1 Traveler. Okay, I was joking, I was able to bypass the Storm Barrier. If you have been observant through my first attempt into going into Inazuma, you may have realized one thing. I walked straight to the Storm Barrier. The Storm Barrier stops working. It shows up, the interface turns purple, but the actual teleport does not happen. Which means, once again, I could bypass a barrier by simply walking through it. With some good dodging and maneuvering, I was able to bypass the Storm Barrier with minimal issues. And after climbing an impossibly steep mountain, I was able to reach Inazuma and activate Rito's Statue of the Seven, thus sending my AR XP progress to 310 out of 375 AR XP for Adventure Rank 2. With Rito's Statue of the Seven now activated, I am now 5 Statue of the Sevens away from completing the challenge. I choose to use the boat to get to Tsurumi Island since Tsurumi Island was the furthest from other islands. And with Tsurumi Island visited, I'm now 4 statues away from completing the challenge. My next issue will be Seira Island. Seira Island, although not as far as Tsurumi Island, is still quite far away from the other islands, and it's too far to swim to without dying. Fortunately, I didn't need to consider swimming there, and this allowed me to use the boat one additional time to get myself to Seira Island. Technically speaking, I could just do the boat bypass multiple times to get to all of the islands. And this is where I pull the final trick out my sleeves. The Infinite Stamina Glitch. By breaking the internet while swimming, you can essentially swim forever. I'll be swimming from this island over here, to this middle island here, and then to Narukami Island. From this point onwards, I was able to set foot on Narukami Island and Yashiori Island's Statue of the Seven. And since there was a gateway teleporter between Yashiori Island and Watasumi Island, I was able to touch foot on all Statue of the Sevens in Inazuma, thus completing the Inazuma arc of the challenge. And with that, I was able to touch foot on all Statue of the Sevens in Teyvat as of version 3.3. Oh wait, hang on. Where's the Statue of the Seven in Mondstadt? And with that, with 15 AR XP to Adventure Rank 2, with all of the Statue of the Sevens visited in Teyvat, I've now completed the challenge and beat Genshin Impact at Adventure Rank 1. Stay tuned as I continue to break the game in additional manners, but otherwise,